Okay, welcome to part 3 of using the Hero Lab editor, the advanced features of it. And right now we're going to get into talking about the evaluation script, or eval scripts, that actually run this magic item, which is a Cloak of Protection +1, which we copied from a Cloak of Resistance that provided a bonus to our saving throws. So if we simply go over here and left-click on eval scripts, we get a new window. Inside this window now looks to be a very scary section of area that provides this huge section of text, which is basically a very simple section of script that runs the magic item and values in the background here for this magic item. And we're going to try and talk about each one individually here quick to make sure that this makes sense to everybody. The first line here is a if statement. If statements allow for the breaking of logic. In this value, what it's trying to do is look for the field called G is equipped and its value to see if it's not equal to 0 or false. And if that is the case, it's going to do then these three sections of code down here inside the if statement. And you can see there's an end if down here that ends this section of an if statement. So G is equipped, it's just to let you know here, is checking against a value of 0, or basically the idea of what's called a Boolean variable, which is a true or false, 0 or 1. 1 being true, 0 being false. So in the way this is being written here, it's actually a bit confusing to read. It's actually trying to say, if I am equipped, go ahead and do the following stuff. But what it's actually sort of written as is the equipped field not equal to false? The same area of code here could actually be written in the following way, equal to 1, and in doing so, making it a little easier to understand, and the logic stays exactly the same, and now it says, if I'm equipped, do the following. Okay. The next line of code here, which I'll highlight here, is actually one big line of code. It just sort of wraps around to the other line. Okay. And the section we'll talk about here first is this first section of what we're trying to set. Okay. So what this value is doing is saying everything's built upon the idea of a hierarchy, which is that the hero is our topmost area, or the character. Underneath it is a child thing, in this case our fort saving throw. Inside of that child is then different fields that can be manipulated by us through scripts. And the field specifically here is the resistance bonus. And then what we're looking at at this dot is what do we want a value, which is a number, or do we want, say, text of the field that we've selected? And in this case, we want, of course, the value. Okay. Now this is going to be set to, and this is where it gets, it actually looks a little complex here, but it really isn't. Maximum is a function built into the scripting language of Hero Lab that simply returns the maximum of the two values that are represented by a separation of a comma. So what this is saying is the current resistance saving throw higher than the value of 1? If it is, we're going to return what's already set there, because resistance bonuses don't stack. If this value is actually set to a, there we go, this one here is set to a 0, for example, because we have nothing else providing a resistance bonus, then the value that will get returned from this function is 1. And that's what we're always going to be setting then as the highest value, because bonuses, again, don't stack. Okay? And you see then, if you look down, this is nothing more than the next line of code that simply says this is for the reflex version of that same saving throw, which does the same thing. It makes sure it doesn't stack the bonus. And then we have the will saving throw section that does the exact same thing again. Now we should get into showing how could we find this fort save, and how do we know that this is the value if it wasn't already on the script? This is a very good question. So to find out, we cancel out of here and flip back to our normal Hero Lab area. We go to the Develop menu, and we want to click on this first one. Most people's systems will have this not being checked, so I already have it checked, but you want to make sure this is enabled. Once you do, you'll be able to come down to this floating info window section, and then go to Show Selection Fields. Okay? And what we're presented now with is a huge list of all the different things that are already part of the hero. These are all the children of the hero. Okay? So in this case, we want to look for, say, the fortitude saving throw. So let's look down here and hope that Hero Lab named it correctly for us. And there we go. We see fortitude save, and you notice the ID here is the same, which is SV Fort. We simply put a check mark next to it. We tell it OK. And now we get a brand new window. This window actually shows us now all the different fields that are actually available on that thing of a fortitude save. And you can see I can make the window bigger. I can adjust some of these fields here so we can see everything. And we can see here that the individual field that we were trying to manipulate, SV resist, is the resistance bonus that is for that saving throw. And we can see that it is a 1 already. And more cool is we can lower this down, go to the check mark here and click a protection, and uncheck it, and you notice that the resistance bonus here now became 0 because the script is no longer working. We now click it back on, and now again we see we got back to the 1 bonus that we saw before. Now we did that by that if statement, which we can now see inside of the eval script, was only if this field, which was the field on the magic item, was not equal to 0. Okay? So if we go back to our thing here, what we have now the capability, now that we've enabled the data file debugging, we can now right-click on different question marks or things that are on the hero, and we can simply show the debug fields for everything that exists on this magic item. Again, we can open up the window. You can see there's a lot of stuff that make up this magic item and its fields. Okay. But the important section we're looking for is G is equipped. And it says simply, is equipped question mark, with a 1 being true and a 0 being false. So if we uncheck, we correctly see that is we equipped, it's now a 0, which is telling us it's false. And therefore the script, if we look over here, you notice did not provide the bonus to the saving throws. Okay? So this is an excellent way to start beginning finding things on different things, as in the, I'm using a term on the idea of, things like magic items, feats, and other things that are in Hero Lab, to find out what values are available for use and are being set already. Like we have cost inside of here, we have quantity numbers and multiplier arrays, weight values, plenty of things that we can also manipulate not only with scripts, but things that can also be manipulated at the time that the stuff is entered into Hero Lab. I think for now that will complete our little section of part 3, going over the very basics beginnings of the evaluation scripts.